somebody is asking, if you have a restraining order against the defendant and they refuse to give the child back despite court order, what should I do? If you have somebody who's violating a court order, you need to make sure to let the judge know. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that the only person who has any power to make somebody do something on on the planet, the way we have it set up in our lives right now, other than parents or guardians, are judges. So if you have a court order and somebody is violating that court order, you have to let the judge know in the form of a motion to for contempt or a motion to enforce or something like that. You want to make sure that the judge knows that that order has been violated. And you've heard the expression, give an inch, take a mile. The people will take a mile. That is so much narcissist. I mean, people wonder how they get away with stuff. They get away with stuff because people allow them to get away with stuff. And one of the things that my SLAY program, which is already out, is going to be updated on January 20th. And in that program, I'm going to be including a brand new thing. You have to have the program in order to get it, but it's going to be a packet for lawyers to let lawyers know about narcissism. And one of the things that I say in there is to tell the lawyers, to let them know that they cannot sit on things. If discovery is due on August 7th, then on August 8th, a motion to compel needs to be filed. You can't let them get away with anything, because that's how they start to feel empowered. That's how they start to feel emboldened, because they realize there haven't been consequences to their actions. So if there's a court order and it has been violated, then making sure that you call them out on their behavior, making sure that the judge knows who it is that they're dealing with. Judges don't like it when people thumb their noses at court orders. So making sure that you don't do that. All right. Somebody says, should you leave the marital home before filing for divorce, or stay in the home and then file? Children are involved. So here's what I say about the marital home. If it's in joint names, or it's a marital or a community asset, leaving the home is not going to change the nature and character of that asset. Whatever the character is of it, as far as splitting it as an asset, won't change. What changes, though, is whether or not you want to be able to get back into the house. Because once you're out of the house and you already have another place to go, if you want to try to get back into the house, it can be difficult, because judges at that point might just say, if you go back and you try to get a exclusive occupancy order, the judge at that point might just say, hey, listen, you guys are already in separate houses. You already have a place to go. It's fine. Let's just leave it the way it is for now. And especially if you have children, you don't move out without a written parenting plan in place. It can be a temporary parenting plan. It doesn't even have to be formalized. It can just be typed up by you guys or something, signed. But you definitely want to have a written parenting plan in place that you can then present to the judge and ask for it to be turned into a court order down the road. Otherwise, if you are dealing with a narcissist, the narcissist might start alienating the children against you, or might start accusing you of alienation or things like that. So you just, I've seen horror stories where somebody moved out and without a parenting plan in place, and then suddenly they haven't been able to see their kids for months at a time. And it's very hard to get in front of judges in general, but especially right now with COVID, it's even worse. There's a huge backlog. And so getting hearing time in front of a judge can be difficult. So, and meanwhile, you haven't seen your kids all that time. So Eve is saying, thank you so much. By what you were doing, you help a lot. I'm so glad to hear that. So glad to hear that. So let's see. Somebody is asking, my wife's protective order was just dropped, I'm assuming against you. Does it look bad on me if I file one against her? She's already threatening to file another. Please help. It's kind of, that's sort of a legal advice question. And I want to be very careful about providing legal advice. But in general, if somebody has dropped a protective order against somebody, then, it probably makes you look better. And if you need to file one against somebody else, the only thing that I would say to people, if they want to try to get a protective order against somebody, is to make sure that you are going to get it. Make sure it's going to stick, because when you ask for a protective order against someone, the judge can either set it for hearing right away, they can issue it on a temporary basis and then set it for hearing. I mean, there's a number of different things the judge can do. But most of the time, what happens is the protective order gets issued right away. And then there's a hearing that's set for, like, within a few days or something like that. And what happens is, once you get to that hearing, you need to prove up all of your facts and all the things that you wrote in the affidavit in order to procure the injunction in the first place. And if you don't come to court ready to prove all of that stuff, then the injunction will get dropped. And if that happens, then the other person will be emboldened and feel, like they got away with stuff. So, and you lost, and all of that dynamic starts to be put into play at that point. And so every time somebody wants to go get a restraining order or some kind of a protective order, I just tell people, make sure that you have enough, make sure that you're going to get it. If you can afford to get a plaintiff's attorney to help you do it, I do suggest that you do that, because you want to make sure that everything that you do, the affidavit, your testimony, the witnesses, the evidence you have, is going to pass muster under the statute so that you will actually be able to get it. So, and don't just threaten to use them. Actually just do it. Otherwise, it looks like you're using it to try to coerce people into doing things. Actually, you have to actually do it if you're going to do it. Let's see. Somebody's asking, hi, Rebecca. How and where can I expose my narcissist? I'm not allowed to have income now. So what I want to say is, for a lot of these questions, I want you guys to come to my webinar tomorrow. It's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning. I'll be doing an extended version of the Ask the Attorney Anything there, but I will also answer a lot of the questions about how to create strategy, how to create leverage, how to do the things that you need to do in order to expose narcissists, because there is very definitely a way to do that. But you need to be super strategic, and you need to make sure that once you have leverage, you're presenting it at the right time. So come join me tomorrow with the 3 must-have secrets to communicating with a narcissist. I'll make sure that there's a link to signing up for it in the very first comment. It'll be pinned as the very first comment here underneath this video. Come join me. I don't want you guys to continue to be stuck. I don't want you guys to continue to feel powerless and paralyzed. And in these situations, I know the drama, trauma, and chaos that narcissists inflict. And I know it feels impossible to be able to turn it around so that you're finally not like on your back, like feeling like they've got you pinned and nobody's going to believe anything that you say. I promise you that there's a methodology to turn it around so that you finally feel heard, you finally feel valued, you finally have a voice in the situation. So come join me tomorrow for sure. And I will help you do all of these things. So it's tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you can't make it live, then if you sign up for it, you will automatically be sent the replay if you can't make it live. So come join me tomorrow, and I'll have bonuses for people who show up live, and I'll stay till the end, and I'll answer as many questions as I can tomorrow as well. So come join me. And the link will be in the first comment. It'll be pinned as soon as I'm done here today. So, how do you get them to comply? This is a really critical issue if you're dealing with narcissists or anybody who seems like a narcissist or they're just a high conflict individual, especially in legal settings. So let's understand the challenge. You're dealing with a narcissist, you get that court order, you finally win. Oh, going to be good now, right? You go to great lengths to get that thing in place. It's expensive to get there. Judge gives it to you. Now it's frustrating because what has happened? They are defying, right? So let's say you got a child support payment. They don't pay, or maybe they only pay part of it, or they just pay late. So maybe they say they don't have the money. The goal is to frustrate you, exert control over you. That's the point. They get supply from that. They enjoy it. They're sadistic. The first thing is that you want to make sure that any of these orders are very clear, very specific, because if they're nebulous in any way, they're going to find the loopholes, right? So it's very, very, very critical that court orders are very clear, very specific, and especially if there's some kind of an agreement that you guys wrote yourselves and then you go and you turn it into the court and have it turned into a court order. And the court just says, okay, here's your agreement. I'm just going to ratify this and make it into a court order. And you guys just said, we're agreeing that, it's going to be whatever and whatever, like we're just going to see the kids whenever we want. And it's just going to be, a free exchange or whatever. Courts can't enforce that. What are they enforcing? It has to be very clear that I get the kids from Friday at 3 o'clock till Sunday at 2 o'clock, and he didn't bring them back. Okay, because then the courts can go, okay, what am I enforcing? Well, it was Sunday at 5 and then they didn't have them. So you need to have everything clear and specific. Vague, ambiguous language is easy for a narcissist to manipulate, and they will. So if it says reasonable visitation, it's going to be interpreted whatever way they want. And it leaves way too much room for a narcissist to exploit. Instead, push for a specific schedule that says exact times, exact locations. Visitation will occur every Saturday from blah to blah. And here's where the exchange is going to take place, on this corner or at this home. Who's going to drive? Because if you don't put in who's driving from where to where, then you're going to end up doing all the driving. Financial matters, instead of saying reasonable support or whatever, it has to say exact amount monthly, how it's going to get paid. Get an income deduction order if you can, if you're worried that a person is not going to pay. Make sure it gets taken directly from their check if possible. The other thing that you can do is you can say they're going to pay it directly to you, but if they miss a payment or they miss two payments and you have to go back, then whoever defaults has to pay both sides fees. That way you have to deal with that. Don't have prevailing party language in there, because when is it prevailing? Default language. And then the other thing you can do is say, if they had this problem with paying, then immediately you get the income deduction order without having to go and ask for it again, blah, blah, blah. Documentation is the next thing you want to have. Documentation is key. Documentation is your best friend when dealing with a narcissist. I always say every time they do something they're not supposed to, then you say, thank you for the gift. Oh, there they go. They were late on something. Thank you for the gift. You write it down.
because that becomes a pattern that you get to show over time is something that they hate. Oh, why are you writing everything down? You have to write it all down. You're keeping your little journal over there. They're going to mock you. They're going to cajole you. And you're going to just go, thank you for the gift. Don't tell them thank you for the gift. One of my high conflict negotiation coaches said, oh, I told them thank you for the gift. Don't tell them thank you for the gift, okay? You just say that to yourself, all right? You just keep a detailed record at all times of all interactions, dates, times, the nature of it. Okay, thank you, thank you. All right. They fail to show up, they fail to pay. Note it, write it down, and you keep receipts, you keep proof of payments. All right, there you go. And you just can summarize it down the road with your supporting documentation right behind your summary. Then that's when you can leverage the legal support that you need. That's when you bring in whatever attorney, but you want to make sure you've got one that understands the way that it needs to be presented. Okay, so that's where, in my SLAY program, I have questions for vetting attorneys. I give you a little packet, make my attorney my ally, all of the things, because you want to make sure that you've got somebody who can help you present it in a way that's okay. This is your game changer. Here's how you can craft it. Your ironclad court order. The minute they are late, you can go, here you go, non-compliance. And then the law may provide sanctions for you. Ask for sanctions. Tell them it needs to be enforced. There needs to be compliance here. Maybe there's sanctions. Ask for those if possible. And then use that court system to your advantage. Don't let it go by. A lot of times people let contempt go by. Oh, they haven't paid in so long. And they think that they've gotten away with it. It's really, really important that you manage your own emotional and psychological well-being, because they use this to their advantage. They bait you. They trigger you. And then by pushing your buttons and creating chaos, then they use your reactions against you. If you've seen it, put I've seen it in the comments below, and then they use it against you. And that's when chaos can ensue even more. So you want your attorneys to be filing the motions for contempt, the motions to enforce, all the things that need to happen, but you're in the meanwhile making sure you're laying the foundation, you are creating that leverage, and then that's how you're going to get them to comply with those court orders once and for all. You want strong penalties. There can even be jail time depending on the type of court order it is. Child support, things like that, support orders. Jail time can even be some of the sanctions that are attached to it for non-compliant parties, which can be a strong deterrent. But you've got to practice mindfulness, practice emotional regulation techniques to stay calm, focused, and grounded, because that's how they get you. So you want to have a strong support network in place. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators. Get my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet to get started. winmynegotiation.com. That will help you surround yourself with people who understand your situation, who can offer emotional support. This might be friends, family, support groups for dealing with narcissists. If you've ever had to deal with this, let us know. I would love to know what strategies worked for you, what tools worked for you. Just make sure, once again, that you've got clear language in your orders, that you've got default language in there, that you are filing things right away, that you're documenting everything, that you are getting a lawyer that understands your situation, that you are practicing your own mindfulness. All really good stuff. to help you, because this is going to make sure that you do what you need to do to get them. And that's what you want. Because the most important thing is that you get out of this situation, move forward, know that you are whole, know that you are complete, know that you were born for more, you were born for greatness, you were born for power, you were born to help others. Be the best person that you are meant to be. You're not meant to be mired in this crazy chaos. So be able to put this shield around you and be in your light and not be in this chaos. So out of chaos comes clarity, right? So, and with the right strategies and the right support, you can ensure compliance with the court orders and protect your peace, protect your peace of mind.
Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. All right, so let's dive into how to defeat narcissists in a legal way, but almost should be illegal. So the first thing is that you've got to set boundaries. I always say put that invisible shield down around you and it's like an invisible bubble, and now you are protected. You're protecting yourself so that you no longer are triggered by them emotionally. You want to achieve emotional mastery first things first, and you want to develop a line upon which they are not allowed to cross. You are setting it up that there's a new game here in town. So you're switching that dynamic of power. So step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So step 1 is you're creating these boundaries because they've been conditioning you from the beginning, and you don't want to set yourself up for that anymore. So you are saying, this is a boundary. It cannot be crossed. It cannot be manipulated. I'm no longer tolerating where I'm not going to be respected. I'm not going to be confrontational. This is how it's going to go. If you are in a high conflict divorce, rather than engaging with them emotionally, they're going to try to violate agreements. They're going to try to get away with not having to give you any kind of documentation. They're going to make everything your fault. Just make sure that you're documenting everything. Text, emails, unscheduled visits or missed visits or late payments, whatever it is, so that they will eventually be setting themselves up for failure because you're just going to use their own behavior, their own words against them. They're going to build an invisible fence around them that they're not even going to realize is there until it's too late. So you're going to have this documentation that you can use in a mediation, in a four-way setting, in any kind of conflict resolution setting, and make sure that that documentation is rock solid, it's complete, it's concrete, it's undeniable. And then you can use like my curated GPT, which is part of my SLAY program, and you can actually feed it with all of your information, all of your documentation, and it will create for you how to build that leverage. If you're in a workplace setting and they're trying to manipulate you, your time, your energy, you want to politely say, these are my job responsibilities, these are my duties, make sure you are fulfilling on them completely, and then have documentation about when they're attempting to cross them. All right. So set legally enforceable boundaries in a way that avoids direct conflict, but leaves a paper trail of evidence that works in your favor. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards
for a change. Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today.
The second thing is using their ego against them as leverage. They always overplay their hand. They always go too far. It's their need to feel superior, their need to continue to manipulate and control. And they don't see long game, they only see short term. And you're going to use this to your advantage, especially in a legal or negotiation setting. If you're in a divorce or a business negotiation, a narcissist's overconfidence leads them to believe that they're going to win no matter what, that you're always going to be the less powerful one. Let them think that they're outsmarting you. Let them think that whatever, while you build your case. Agree to minor concessions if you need to. Fluff up their ego if you need to. I call it fluff or favor vomit later. But then you quietly build your stronger case through your documentation, through forensic accounting, through expert witnesses, whatever you need to do. Their ego is going to blind them to the fact that you are like the tortoise and the hare. You're the tortoise who's actually pulling ahead of them. If it's a work situation, if you're in a professional context, if this narcissist is dominating meetings, trying to take credit for your work, let them think they're in control while you keep records of every idea, contribution, communication that's necessary so that you build your case. And when the time comes, calmly present the evidence to whoever you need to present it to demonstrate what the truth actually is. And they're not going to believe that you have such thorough documentation. So the takeaway on this is use their overconfidence to lull them into complacency while you gather the tools that you need to expose them later. And you know that they always lie, they always act poorly, they always do things that give you so much evidence. And if you know that this is true, put "so true" in the comments below. The next thing is weaponizing facts and evidence in cases. Narcissists thrive on manipulation, but they can't twist the truth when the facts are solidly documented. In legal settings, facts and evidence are the ultimate power. A narcissist might try to hide assets in a divorce, but if you gather all the right financial records, offshore bank accounts, whatever, it's always easy to follow the path. I mean, in today's world, it's always easy to find some thread of a path. And presenting irrefutable evidence makes it impossible for them to gaslight or manipulate the narrative. I've seen narcissists go from confident to completely panicked when confronted with undeniable proof. If it's a workplace situation that you're dealing with, it's a boss or it's a colleague, that they've been undermining your work, documenting every interaction is key. Keep detailed email chains, meeting notes, project timelines. If they ever try to discredit you or claim responsibility for your work, you have hard evidence to protect yourself or even use with HR or legal proceedings if necessary. Facts are your greatest weapon. Narcissists rely on emotional manipulation, intimidation, bullying tactics, but they can't win when the evidence speaks louder than their lies. So if you've dealt with this, give me a "so true" in the comments and also share your experiences in the comments. And if you want a really great guide to get started with documentation, go to docthenarc.com, and get my free guide on what to start documenting with narcissists, docthenarc.com. You want to have really good documentation. You want to have really good boundaries. You want to use their egos against them. And then you end up weaponizing the facts to potentially expose them. And that's how you create leverage. And that's the plan to defeat narcissists that actually works. I've helped people all around the world in many, many countries in lots and lots of places, and it definitely works. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. You also like this video, you share it with anyone who needs to see this information. If you're a renter, you should be taking advantage of Built. We rack up points on groceries, travel, and nearly everything else. So why not one of your most hugest monthly expenses, which is your rent? Because with Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join. And just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock two powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or who your landlord is, your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats, or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and start taking advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's JOINBILT.com/negotiate, and make sure to use our URL so that we know that you were sent to them by us. So go to joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today. And if you've ever had to face a narcissist in court or negotiations, you've probably seen them pull all sorts of tricks and try to make themselves look smarter or more competent than they actually are. But we're going to break it down for you right now. So we're going to expose them, right? If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss one single tip or trick, right? So number one is correcting minor mistakes for personal gain. So first up is narcissists love to correct others on small details, especially when it comes to grammar or facts, even when it's unnecessary. So for example, if somebody uses a word incorrectly, like saying entitled instead of titled, they choose to correct them to get that ego boost, even if it's not an appropriate time to make a correction, or even they correct even when it's not the correct correction. Sometimes I've seen somebody say like regardless, which is the right way to say the word, and I've seen them correct and say no, it's irregardless, which is not even a right word. They do that also to make themselves look better. They won't let a mistake slide. They try to weaponize things, they try to weaponize mistakes, and it's all about creating a narrative so that they can come out on top. They'll look for any little way that they can try to come out looking like better than the other person. The next one is using big words incorrectly. While they're trying so hard to look smart, they'll try to find other big words. Like while they're around correcting everybody else, they're actually making mistakes themselves. They'll misuse words, especially like technical jargon, especially in the legal field. Amateur attorneys over here. So they're using, I don't even know, findlaw.com or whatever. They're online with their Google search or whatever. And they've talked to some friend who's a paralegal somewhere, and they hear some impressive word that, you know, res ipsa loquitur or whatever, and they start working it into a sentence without fully understanding what it means just to seem smart. And I've seen these narcissists use phenomenological thinking, thinking like, oh, it means like phenomenal or whatever. It doesn't, like, they just like these crazy things to try to make it sound like they're super high end or they're higher than everybody else. They understand what's going on in the legal process. But to them, they're looking more intelligent than everyone, including all the lawyers in the room, by the way. And then the next one is focusing on topics they assume that other people don't know. They'll look for topics that they can dominate the conversations with niche knowledge about. They assume that no one else in the room knows enough to challenge them on. So, it could be engineering or politics or cooking or whatever it is. But anything that they can throw in their random jargon and sound like an expert. But if somebody with real expertise comes along and joins that discussion, they will definitely want to immediately shift topics and move on to something else because they don't want to be exposed on that. The next one is stubbornly supporting a weak position. Even if they've been called out, even if they've been demonstrated to be shown that that position is a weak position, or even if there's no position there, they'll dig their heels in just to show that they're right. They don't want to be perceived as flawed or wrong, and they think that backing down would mean admitting that they're wrong. And to a narcissist, that is completely unthinkable. You could show them 1,000 text messages or a video showing that they're wrong or whatever it is. They can be confronted with actual facts. They'll find a way to twist the narrative to maintain their illusion of whatever it is. It doesn't matter. So that's why I always say never jade, never justify, argue, defend, or explain, because you ain't even convincing them of nothing.
Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life, then they turned out to be your worst nightmare, and then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell? Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized, high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I will show you how.
Next one is attacking others instead of the argument. So that's why I always say focus on facts, not people, and try to keep it redirected to the facts, because if you get all sidetracked with them, they're going to get way off scope. And if they can't win based on logic and facts, they turn to personal attacks. And the minute they are off track and in that emotion, they go straight to the personal attacks. If somebody misspells a word, makes a minor mistake, or points out that they did that, they will go on the attack. And they are constantly looking for ways to attack the other person because they're the most judgmental people on the planet. So if somebody does one small thing that's wrong or whatever, then they generalize one misspelling, one typo to that person's an idiot. They discredit the entire person and they avoid addressing the entire issue. Oh, I can't talk to that person. That person misspelled this. They're obviously stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm not having this conversation. That's it. We're done. That's the type of personality type that you're dealing with there. So if you guys have seen this, put totally in the comments below. I know that you have. You're in the middle of mediation, you're in the middle of trying to have a conversation. That's what you're dealing with. And they're just looking for any excuse to just get up, walk away, be done, because then they're in control. And that's That's why you need to have a support system and team around you. Grab my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com. Those are key phrases for disarming narcissists. You can go to disarmthenarc.com to get those. And then also join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, will help you tremendously. The next thing is blaming others for their mistakes. It's projection and deflection. That's what I call it. Lie and deny and projection and deflection. When the evidence is undeniable that they've made a mistake, what are they going to do? Well, they're certainly not going to admit fault. That's unthinkable. I was given bad information. Somebody's trying to sabotage me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. They have to shift blame because of their fragile ego. There's no way that they're taking that on. It's just too much. Their little egos are going to crush under the fragility of all of that. They have to keep up the facade that they're perfect, intelligent. That image is more important to them than anything. The next one is they'll use words like logic and fact and reason, even though there's nothing to back it up. But they'll say it with complete conviction. I mean, it's crazy. And they'll get a lot of people to believe them to a certain extent. And they make themselves sound like the voice of wisdom because they'll say it with complete authority. I mean, my father used to say, whatever you say it with authority, people will believe you. But, if they say it with complete authority, they'll say it without proving one point, without one shred of evidence. Just because people throw these things out there, just because they say it, doesn't mean it's true. I mean, I say to you, don't freak out just because they say things, because in the court of law, they have to have evidence. They're going to have supporting documentation. The next thing is dismissing qualities that they don't possess themselves. So they tend to dismiss and downplay traits that they don't have. Oh, this person just got lucky. Or they dismiss or downplay traits that they're jealous of as well. If they have more education, anyone can just get a degree. Oh, or they might say, oh, that person, built their business on a pyramid scheme, or that person cheats on their wife. They always have to kind of put them down because they just have to. There's no way that they could admit somebody is better than them in any way. It always is a threat to their sense of self. The next one is lying about what facts they have, lying about what evidence they have, lying on pleadings, lying in court, lying about you. It really kind of goes on and on, right? They try to make themselves look like they're so smart, they're so good, and then the other person is not. So, they'll exaggerate their IQ, they'll exaggerate their job qualifications, but when they're pressed for details to get proof on anything, they do not have it. But you will. Documentation is king. That is the key. Supporting documentation, supporting evidence, and having the summaries done the right way, and having your witnesses and having your videos, all of that, that's what you need. And then the next thing is pretending to understand complex information. They're know-it-alls. That is what it comes down to. Pretend they know or they understand what's happening sometimes when they don't understand what's happening. And that can be particularly frustrating to lawyers when they're trying to tell lawyers how to run their cases or whatever, or they're trying to explain to them what the law is. When they don't understand that, they say things and they're completely wrong a lot of times. And they try to look knowledgeable when they are not knowledgeable. They are giving false advice to people a lot of times, which can be a problem. I would love to know which ones you guys have seen and which ones you would add. So many ways that narcissists try to beef themselves up, build themselves up to try to make themselves look smarter than they actually are. But, these are just a few, a handful of them. If you are facing a narcissist in a high stakes situation or a court situation, just know that these are just tactics for smoke and mirrors. A lot of times there's nothing behind it. It's just sand underneath there.
Have you been looking for a natural way to relieve aches or discomfort or stress? CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body instead of against it. I have really close family members and friends who have dealt with stress or health issues
really severe health issues. And I have seen this work amazing miracles for them. And what I love about their products is that not only does it help relieve discomfort or stress or sleeplessness, but they're actually third-party lab tested and USDA approved, and they're organic, so they ensure safety and purity. And right now, Negotiate Your Best Life podcast listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/negotiate and use the code negotiate at your checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/negotiate and use the code negotiate.
So today we're going to be talking about something that is super absolutely critical. Not everybody who's watching this channel is dealing with a divorce, but a lot of you are. And so I thought that I would dedicate a video specifically to for people who are maybe in the process of dealing with a divorce, maybe considering a divorce, maybe you're at the tail end, but wherever you are in the process, I really thought that it would be important for me to dedicate an entire video on dealing with a narcissist in a divorce and the hidden dangers of that, because narcissists are master manipulators. And I've been helping people with this for over 20 years now. I started studying narcissism so that I could beat narcissists in the courtroom. And now I'm here to help you win too. And let me tell you, they use the courtroom as their forum. They use the system as their forum. They use lawyers as their forum. They use the whole process as their forum. And during that discard phase, that's when you see the whole thing ramp up. That's when you see the birth of the smear campaign. That's when they go into that super fear mode. And so everything becomes magnified. The first danger that you're going to see is that they're going to start using that court system as their sword and the kids as pawns as well. Everything's going to start ramping up, and you will start to see lying in pleadings, lying in correspondence, twisting the truth, ignoring court orders, ignoring discovery requests, and delay tactics. And it's all designed to wear you down emotionally and financially. And narcissists are notorious for dragging out the divorce process as long as possible. And they do this to exhaust you and drain you. And they might flood you with unnecessary emotions, constantly change their demands, or refuse to cooperate just to make the process as painful as possible. And let me tell you, at the beginning, they might say, oh, I want this to be collaborative, or I want this to be cooperative. I want us all to get along. And it's all a ploy, let me tell you, because at the beginning, if you agree to things, they're going to try to hold you to that. Or if you say, oh, I'm happy to give you X, Y, and Z, they're going to take that and they're just going to expect that that was theirs to begin with. And they're not going to see that as something that you gave them in return for something. And that's a huge mistake. So don't give away your leverage too early. That's a huge no-no, because now you're going to find yourself halfway down the river and you've already given away this leverage, and that was mine anyway. They just thought that they were entitled to it. All right. Don't do that. And part of the reason why they're constantly changing things and moving goalposts and all of that is because of this narcissistic supply. They don't just want to win. That's all about their diamond level supply, their image, their reputation. Their coal level supply is manipulating you. It's that smearing. That's that dark underbelly of narcissistic supply. And they will never give that up. Ever, 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 unless you find a way to threaten a source of supply that's more important for them to keep, protect, or defend than the supply that they get from manipulating you, which is that coal level supply. And that's what I teach you how to do in my Slay program. So the key here is to start documenting early on. Do not give in. I know you're thinking to yourself, I just want this over with. I just want this thing done. I just want to get along. I just want what's fair. If you want what's fair, then you have to create leverage early on, and you have to get on the offensive. And that's what is so unfamiliar and doesn't feel comfortable with somebody who's like, I just want what's fair and I just want to get along, because this is a person who will literally self-sabotage in order to take you down. Meaning, I have seen narcissists say, I will burn my business to the ground just so that I don't have to pay the other person alimony. So here's the thing. The key is that you have to remain patient. You have to stay organized, and you have to make sure that you don't let them provoke you into making rash decisions. Document everything, follow court procedures meticulously. You'll work closely with your attorney. Make sure you have the right attorney. In my SLAY program, I teach you how to find that right attorney. Expect that they are going to act like narcissists. Don't be surprised when they act like narcissists. Just go, oh, there they are, acting like their narcissist self. Put that invisible shield down around you. So say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. And just go, okay, I see what you're doing, and remove yourself from any conversations that are not respectful. Right away, put that boundary into place. Any conversations that are not respectful, you are not going to participate in. All right. And if you need free phrases for disarming narcissists, just go ahead and grab them from me at disarmthenarc.com. All right. So remember, there's going to be this risk of financial sabotage. So let's talk about that. So a huge tactic that narcissists engage in, often to destabilize you in a divorce, is they try to hide assets, they try to drain joint bank accounts, they suddenly stop contributing to household expenses. So you have to take important steps to secure your financial position early. So if you're the one who's getting ready to file, then before you file, make sure you have a stash of cash, make sure you know where you're going to be living, make sure you know where they're going to be living before you file, before they are served. And do not leave your house unless there's some kind of a court order in place, and also some kind of an order in place with regard to the children, because you want to make sure that you know what's happening with all of that ahead of time. All right. Have copies of all of the financial records to the extent that you possibly can. If it is with regard to banks or credit card statements, if you know at least where they are, you can probably get subpoenas for those. I generally recommend for people to just subpoena them rather than ask the other side for them, because if you're asking for a narcissist to give them to you, generally they're just not going to. They're going to be obstinate. They're going to be difficult. They're going to give you every month except July or whatever, or they're going to give you all the pages except page 12, that kind of thing, which is extremely expensive to have a paralegal go through all of that and then have to write a letter to the other side and ask for whatever is missing from the other side, and then file a motion to compel, and then set it for hearing. And then what they'll normally do is the morning of the hearing, then they'll go ahead and comply, because now you've already spent all the money to prepare for it or whatever. So they'll go ahead and comply at the last second, because then you can't go ahead and ask for fees for it. It's that kind of game playing, right? They'll try to undermine you with little games like that. So what I would suggest that you try to do is reach around them as much as you possibly can. If you are the spouse that doesn't have the money, many times the court will protect you as soon as you file for divorce with some kind of an order that says, hey, everything has to maintain status quo as long as, while the case is pending. So nobody's allowed to do anything crazy with the assets. Everything has to sort of stay the way it was. Nobody's allowed to move assets or do anything that you didn't have in place while the marriage, at the time that the case was filed. So a lot of times, as soon as you file for divorce, there's a court order that goes into play, and you'd have to ask your lawyer for where it is, your particular jurisdiction, if this is the case, but that says, hey, you're not allowed to close bank accounts, move money, take people off of health insurance policies or life insurance policies, or do anything that's major moves while the case is pending. So check with your attorney in your particular area to just see if that's the case. But a lot of times, as soon as a case is filed, that is the case. All right. And then if you are the spouse that doesn't have the money, a lot of times you can also ask for temporary relief as soon as a case is filed as well. But it does take time to get a hearing. And then once you get the hearing, even a judge doesn't even always rule right away. So that can also be frustrating. But you can ask for that, so that you can ask for temporary attorney's fees, temporary alimony, temporary child support, even a temporary parenting plan while the case is pending, depending on how long it's going to be until you can get a full resolution of your case. That can be helpful. And you do want to make sure that you're trying to get a judge involved as much as you possibly can, because, when you are dealing with a narcissist, you're probably going to need it. However, the problem is that it's that in between time, right? What are you doing? There's no narc fairies around. There's no narc police sitting in your living room going, hey, you're not allowed to do that, right? So what are you going to do in the meantime? In the meantime, you're going to make sure that you are documenting every little thing, because those are going to be your gifts. Every time they don't do what they're supposed to do, you are going to need to document that, because that's how you are going to get to the ultimate outcome of where you want to be. You want to be able to ultimately get the judge to listen to you. They don't want to hear the word narcissist, but they do want to hear about the law. So you want to tie what you're talking about, what you care about, to the law. That brings me to emotional and psychological warfare. Narcissists are experts at emotional and psychological warfare. So during the divorce, they're going to manipulate you. They're going to push your buttons. They're going to make you question your own reality. So they're going to be sending you stuff. They're going to be sending you texts. They're going to be sending you emails. I mean, I've seen people be setting up video cameras during the custody exchanges and all sorts of crazy stuff, acting like the other person is the one who's the crazy one, or they're sending over, whatever the agency services is in your particular area, to act like you're the one who's abusive, to investigate you, whether it's the worst possible things that they are accusing you of, such as sexual abuse or child abuse. You have to be the one who just maintains control and just says, okay, you know what? This is the person that I'm dealing with here, and not be baited and not be triggered, because eventually it's all going to come out and it's all going to come into your favor. So while you're dealing with this, make sure that you seek support. You seek support from your trusted advisors, your trusted friends, the people that you can trust, right? If you need additional support, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. And if you don't have help from a therapist, I have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp, and you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. We receive commissions on that. It doesn't cost you any extra. It's just that I wanted you to have access to help and support that you can trust. I mean, they will use the children as pawns. They're going to boast around and say to everybody that, my kids are the most important thing to me and all that. But narcissists don't see their children as individuals. They just see them as tools to manipulate. It's going to be up to you to show how they're using them as tools. And you can demonstrate that by showing how they are not showing up on time, constantly changing the schedule, not paying their support on time, all of the things that they're doing, refusing to drive, saying things about you to other people. This is not a person who's acting in the best interest of the child. And if you can show a pattern of consistent behavior through your documentation, that is what will speak to the language of the court, because you can show that through the best interest of the child statute. The statute is what speaks the language of the court. You're going to show that through social media posts, through witnesses, through communication, through text messages, everything that you've got. It might be videos, it might be audio files. All of those things that you've got will add up. You create summaries from those things. That is exactly how you're going to end up doing it. Another danger you're going to see is false allegations. And I made a reference to that a little bit earlier, but I mean, there's going to be allegations of abuse, neglect, financial misconduct, whatever it is that they know is your weak spot, that's where they're going to go after. The best defense is to be proactive. Keep meticulous records of everything, your interactions. Make sure you have witnesses wherever you go. Respond calmly to everything. Don't allow them to bait you. As much as you might want to respond in emails or texts or whatever, remember that everything is a potential trial exhibit. Everything, every text, every email, every social media post, everything you put your hand to is a potential trial exhibit. So be very careful about what you post. Before you hit send, before you hit post, just imagine the judge is looking over your shoulder and that you might potentially be cross-examined on it down the road, either in a deposition or in a court proceeding. So you want to make sure that you don't want to see that again in a compromising position. All right. I've had to be there on that defending side as an attorney before, and it's not fun for your attorney to have to defend that. So you don't want to have to be in that position either. So take a beat, take a moment. I always say SOS, stop, observe, and then stay. Just take a beat. Have a strong team behind you. We have a really strong team behind us. Join my SLAY program, join my program for coaching. I love our community. You can also make sure that your attorney is the right attorney. Make sure you have a good therapist. Just make sure you have a good team behind you. Family, friends, professionals that can help you stay grounded, stay focused, and documentation. Keep records of everything and trust your instincts. If it feels off, it probably is. Do not ignore red flags. Don't be afraid to take steps to protect yourself, even if it means making difficult decisions. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please make sure to share it with anyone who is dealing with this in their lives. I mean, dealing with a narcissist in divorce is not easy. It can cost so much money. I mean, even just the first year of dealing with a narcissist in divorce alone can cost up to $100,000 between the attorney, between the mediator, forensic accountant fees, the therapy fees alone. So anyone who needs to see this, please watch this so they can just know what to do to protect themselves. Tell your attorneys that they need to file something immediately if somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to do. Make sure that nobody gets away with anything. The other thing that I want to make sure that I mention in this video is that you cannot have letters of proposal and trying to settle things right away. A narcissist is never going to settle a case through letters of proposal going back and forth. That just gives them narcissistic supply. You have to have all of your leverage ready to go, and you have to be ready to pin them in and have them in a particular type of setting. Those are just a few tips to protect yourself. You have the strength to navigate this challenge, and you are stronger than they are. They are way more afraid of you than you are of them. I'll tell you that right now. And the stronger that you get, the more afraid they will become. With the right tools and the right support, you can bring this chaos to order and protect yourself and your loved ones, and really ultimately become the stronger one, and you'll never look back. And there are always going to be narcissists. The strongest version of you is right on the other side of.
When I first launched my store at shop.rebeccazung.com, I needed a simple way to manage online and in-store sales. Shopify Point of Sale made it seamless. Shopify POS connects everything online and in-store into one system. Customers shop how they want, and my team always has the tools to get the sale done. It's proven to work. Shopify POS users see a 22% better total cost of ownership and an 8.9% sales boost on average. Want more? Check out shopify.com/negotiate, all lowercase, shopify.com/negotiate.
So today we're diving into a topic that could be the key to you winning your legal battle against a narcissist. If you've ever been in a courtroom facing off against a narcissist, you know how incredibly challenging it can be. They lie, they manipulate, they twist the truth, they do anything they can to serve their own agendas. But there is one crucial strategy that once you have it in your hand, you can win, you can expose them, you can take them down, you can walk away with everything that you want and move on to have your life. And that's what you want. That's what it's all about. It's about freedom. It's about having peace away from the drama, trauma, and chaos, having that freedom, possibility, and purpose. But this one crucial strategy is the thing that most lawyers miss because they don't understand high conflict personalities. They don't understand narcissists, something that can expose the narcissist for who they truly are. So it's time to turn the tide in your favor. So stay with me because by the end of this video, you're going to be equipped with the knowledge that you need to outmaneuver even the most cunning, most manipulative narcissist in court. So let's get right to it. The one crucial strategy that you need, that you can have to expose that narcissist in court, is something that often gets overlooked, and that is the power of documented patterns of behavior. Now, I know this sounds straightforward. I know that this sounds like, come on, let me tell you why this is so critical and why so many people, even lawyers, fail to leverage it so effectively. So you got to, step one, understand the narcissist MO, modus operandi. Narcissists are masters of deception. In court, they present themselves as charming and reasonable, even victims of individuals. But behind this facade lies a pattern of abusive, manipulative behavior that they've likely been engaging in for years. The key to exposing them is not just in pointing out individual incidents of bad behavior, but you have to have a way to spin it by demonstrating consistent patterns of actions that reveal their true character. Imagine you're in court and a narcissist is trying to convince the judge that they're this innocent party. And it's very easy to do sometimes if you, for example, are the one with the money, or you're the one with the power job, and they're the ones with like the lesser position. Maybe you have one single instance where you lost it. You sent a nasty email, or you were caught in a stressed out situation. If you can show a series of text messages or emails or witness testimonies, or all of this strung together, where they paint a picture of demonstrated behavior over a period of time, it's much harder for them to deny, where they were obstinate, where they were refused, they didn't respond. That is where you can demonstrate a repeated pattern over time, vexatious pattern, harassing behavior, overarching demonstrated pattern. That's where you want to argue. So how do you go about gathering? Number two, gathering and presenting this evidence. It's all about documentation, and you want to collect everything: emails, text messages, social media posts, recordings, whatever you have, testimonies from people who have been witnesses, and start gathering the behavior. The goal is to compile a timeline. You want to have this whole dossier, a tome that clearly illustrates the pattern,
And then you're going to have many different summaries, tables. So you're going to say date, email, tab 1, date, text, tab 2. You're not just saying this person did this once, but rather this person has a history of doing this. And here's the proof. That way, the narcissist sees through the person's charm when they're faced with overwhelming evidence of a person's manipulative behavior. And you can call it summary of lies and inconsistent statements, summary of times that wife repeatedly offered to do X and husband refused, or summary of times that wife was late, or whatever it was. And so that you can demonstrate a pattern of consistent behavior. And I've known people who are in my coaching program who have been trained by me throughout this process, who understand what I've trained them how to do this, who've gone into court with 125 exhibits like this and won everything, even when their lawyer didn't think that they could win. So if you want to get started with this, if you go to docthenarc.com, I show you exactly what to start documenting. Just go to docthenarc.com and it will show you exactly what to do and how to get started with documenting the narcissist, okay? Learning how to document exactly what to do is just the beginning. Creating that and turning it into leverage, knowing what to expose is the next step. Knowing their diamond level supply versus their coal level supply. Their diamond level supply is their reputation, how they look to the world, what it is that they're trying to portray. I'm this good person, or I'm this victim. You have to know what it is in their behavior, or what it is that they're trying to portray, and then threaten that form of supply, because the supply that they're getting from manipulating you, from keeping you in this game, that's a strong source of supply for them as well. So you've got to be prepared to have them let go of that stronghold. Most lawyers do not understand that. They miss that. And this is the strategy. This is where most lawyers drop the ball. It's not just about showing the narcissist behavior. It's about linking that behavior to the legal issues at hand. So, for instance, if you're in a custody battle, you want to demonstrate how the narcissist pattern of manipulation directly impacts their ability to co-parent effectively. If it's a financial dispute, show how their consistent dishonesty and lack of transparency have led to a financial misconduct. The goal is to make the judge care, right? Because they only care about the law. So you want to weave that in. See, this isn't just about who's more likable or the fact that they're a narcissist. They don't care about that. But you want to weave it into the law. And hey, they don't like it if it's violating the law. So that's step 3, weave it into the law. Step 4, let's talk about the common mistakes to avoid here. Don't rely on character witnesses alone. I know so many times I've talked to people and they're like, I've got 40,000 witnesses. I've got this baseball coach and I've got my neighbor and I've got my sister-in-law. There's only so many hours in a day when you've got these hearings. You're not going to be able to parade in half the town, and the judge has no patience for that, and you don't want to be paying your lawyer for all that time either. It's great to have people who can testify as to the narcissist behavior, but the testimony can be dismissed as biased, for one thing. Real hard evidence is so much better. So things that can't be refuted, things that can't be explained away is going to be so much better. If you've got text messages where they said something or in their own hand, it's better. Okay. Second, do not get emotional. Narcissists are experts at pushing your buttons, especially in court or during depositions or anything like that. Do not allow them to push your buttons. They're going to make faces at you. They're going to roll their eyes. They're going to say things. Do not take the bait. Put your invisible shield down around you. Don't even look over there. Just expect that that's what they're going to do. Let it go. let it on go by you. Okay? Just stay calm, stick to the facts, let the evidence speak for itself. Next, don't expect things to happen overnight. Narcissists are persistent. They're going to use every trick in the book to drag things out. You have to be in this to keep on going, do what you need to do. Don't sit there and go, it's not fair. It's not, how are they getting away with this? You have to keep to your strategy. Have your vision. That's all part of my slay method. Have your vision. That's your strategy. Keep going with your leverage. Anticipate that they're going to do what they're going to do, but you stay 2 steps ahead. And then you is your mindset. You're 100% knowing that you're going to win and you stay on the offensive. And if you need extra support, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, so you have support helping you. If you don't have a therapist, I have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung to get the help and support that you need. We receive commissions on that. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just want you to have help and support that you can trust. Just make sure that you are doing anything that you need to do to get the self-care that you need. And just say, I am doing this in the comments if you're ready to do this. Okay, so put I'm doing this because you need to do this. Step 5, stay the course, keep your composure. And I want to remind you that dealing with a narcissist in court is not just about winning the case. This is about you becoming the most powerful version of yourself. On the other side of this is you, your authentic, powerful, badass self, your peace, your future. Narcissists thrive on chaos and conflict. They're going to continue to be their narky selves no matter what. You are going to be so powerful on the other side of this. You're not going to let them succeed. They only win if you give it. Focus on the long game. Continue to document their patterns. Every time they do something that's frustrating, they don't pay, they don't show up, do whatever it is, just say thank you for the gift to yourself. Just say thank you for the gift and you document it down because it's a gift. Because it becomes part of your leverage. It becomes something that you use against them in court. You use it to your advantage. Use it to reclaim your future. Use it to reclaim your power. Ensure that justice is served. It becomes part of the karma that you use against them. And we're going to be talking about the psychological triggers, the different types of tactics that you can use to kind of push at narcissist buttons and reveal their true colors in front of a judge. So there's some strategies that you can use to kind of turn the tables and get judge to see who they really are, give you that upper hand in a case. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing you really need to know is what is going to set that narcissist off? What is a narcissist trigger? So remember that with a narcissist, it's all about image. It's all about what they look like, right? It's all about maintaining that perfect, beautiful narcissistic supply. It's that reputation. How do they look to the world? What can you do to get some cracks in that facade? So, you really should be starting that early on, long before you get in front of the courtroom. And that's what I teach people how to do through my SLAY method, which stands for strategy, leverage, anticipate, and you. So getting that leverage prepared ahead of time to expose them will really, really help when you get to that cross-examination, when it's time to uncover what it is that they have on the stand, because their attorney is going to do direct examination of them. And so they'll sit there and say, I was perfect and I was wonderful and I did all these great things. And so what you want to be able to do is direct on cross-examination, be able to pick apart the things that they're going to say. So you want to be able to anticipate the things that they're going to say. So you want to be able to have summaries of their inconsistencies, summaries of their lies, summaries of the things that they've done, the things that they've said. You want to be able to challenge the lies. You want to be ready with that. And the more that you can do that, the better it is. Okay, so you want to be having as many exhibits as you possibly can to expose them, expose their lies, expose who they truly are, so that when they go to get them on that stand, they can lead them to act impulsively and beat them and trigger them. Imagine how powerful it is to show them, oh, look at here, okay, here, you said this here, you did this here, you did this here, and then boom, 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 boom. That's what causes them to lose control at critical moments. Then we go to the strategic questioning. The way you frame your questions makes a world of difference. Because if you can ask questions that forces the narcissist to contradict themselves, or highlights inconsistencies in their stories, that's when they start to get irritated. And especially if whoever is doing the questioning, whether it's you, hopefully it's not you, hopefully it's your attorney or whoever, stays calm, stays here, that's when they start to get angry. They start to get agitated. So let's say you ask them about a specific event where their story has shifted over time, where they're lying. Oh, you said this. I remember specifically, we asked a wife about whether or not she had ever filed domestic violence charges against any other spouse in the past. And she said, no, she hadn't. Well, we pulled up something right from the records in that same county where she had filed domestic violence charges against her former husband. Very easily, calmly, methodically, pressing them on these details. You put them on the defensive and pushes them closer to an outburst. Remember, a narcissist hates to be exposed. And so when you can show them, oh, you said this under oath over here, you said that you're saying this under oath over here, that's when their lies start unraveling. And that's when they start reacting in a way that shows their true nature. Does this make sense? It's so sweet to see. So sweet to see. Right? And if you think it is so sweet to see, put sweet in the comments below. It's all karma. Karma. Karma never forgets. Right? She never forgets. If you are dealing with a narcissist in a negotiation setting, I want you to grab my free Crush My Negotiation Prep Playbook at winmynegotiation.com. It's packed with tools and tips to help you prepare. If you are dealing with a narcissist, you need it, okay? And join my free private Facebook group too, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, and you can connect with others who are dealing with similar challenges. The next thing is using silence as a weapon. Another really powerful tactic is just to ask a question. It's a yes or no question, and then just sit back and ask a question. Just pause. Or just when they respond, just stare at them and go, like, okay, I know that you're lying. Like if they're rambling, they're saying something that's incriminating, you just let them go, because you just know that everybody knows that it's a crazy, chaotic thing. And you just let them go. You just let them ramble. You just let it go. Nonverbal communication is another area where you can subtly provoke a narcissist. Maintaining eye contact. I've been very good about doing that. Strong, maintaining eye contact, being powerful, showing confidence with your poise, your posture, subtle facial expressions, just enough to unsettle them, looking at them through glasses or through your paperwork. I see. Okay. They're hyper aware of how they are perceived. When they feel like they're not in control of the narrative, they start to lose it. I've seen them go crazy where the judge is like, excuse me, Mr. So-and-so, you're going to have to get control of yourself. And when that happens, guess what? Document the outburst. It's so crucial to document the outburst. I've seen situations where they've lost hearings. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're taking my child, or whatever. When that happens and they break down in the courtroom, make sure you document it, because maybe the judge isn't even there at that point because they lost the hearing and the judge is back in chambers. Make sure you document that, because you want to capture that moment and write it down so that it's pivotal to show for next time, for the true nature of that person. It helps to sway. Well, and if it happens right in front of the judges, great. Fantastic. And that's why I say to make sure to do video depositions if you can afford it as well, because it'll show that narcissist's true nature if you can get that on video for sure. So if you found these strategies helpful, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure that you share it with anybody else that needs it, and drop a comment below. I would love to know what stories you've had in a court situation. Dealing with a narcissist in court is never fun. It's never easy. The best way to deal with it is not to even get to that situation. If you can get that case resolved beforehand, that's even better. That's why I provide powerful strategies to lock them in before you get to that situation, which you definitely can do